I'm Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, and I'm back with the Enchanted Self and the Selfie Project. We're talking about both today. I have only one guest, but I couldn't pick a more amazing guest in the entire universe, and certainly around Monmouth County, to get someone who would come in and sit with me. Debbie
Stolz Higgins.
Higgins, who is actually my producer for the selfie films that I've made in the last few years. And what I love about having Debbie here with me tonight is we are both women of wisdom, women who have been through more than one career and have seen life from many different angles. Debbie has been a postmistress, yes, and she has been a film critic for 36 years. She's a producer, a director. She's acted in films. She's a singer who actually performs in concerts. And, well, you get the picture. It's a lot. And right now she is involved in the Jersey Shore Film Festival, where she's working night and day.
That's for sure.
Yes. As far as myself, I have been a second grade teacher, a first grade teacher, a learning disability specialist, a school psychologist, a psychologist in private practice, where I still am, a filmmaker, an author of many books, and I even have one play under my belt, and I hope to produce it many more times than once. I kind of shelved it for a couple of years as I've become so involved in my filmmaking. I have a niche in filmmaking that is called selfie filmmaking. And briefly, what this means is I've done two different things with the notion of selfies. One is that the kids that have starred in my short films, which are based on my two books, ta-da, if I can get them up here, two books, diaries, where a girl tells you all about her life, her ups and downs, the good and bad, the sorrowful and the elation, the first crush, dumping the fellow, you name it, it's in one of these two books. Anyway, the two books led to me making short films based on some of the episodes in the books. And as I did the films, a new concept came out of the blue. I think I may have been the first person to use it beyond horror movies, for drama, for a short, fine film that really has an arc and the whole thing. And it is this, so that's what the selfie is. The actress does a lot of her own filming. She takes her smartphone and she can film the scenes in her backyard, in her bedroom, in her bathroom, in her living room, wherever she chooses what will fit the scene. And then we have built a crew around her selfie portraits, these short scenes. It's worked very, very well. I think, I don't like to show off, but sometimes you have to a little bit. And I think I was counting all the awards, and when a film is screened, you may not get an award, but you're screened, of all my films and all of the awards, which are, of course, much smaller in number than selected, it's about 50 now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's amazing. And the other facet of using the selfies is what we call the Selfie Project. And that is designed to help kids not go in so much to the drama end of making films with the selfie part, but using the selfie privately to share what is most on their minds, what's bothering them, what's upsetting them. It can tie into school shootings and opioids and all sorts of things, or it can tie into something as simple as, it's my first date, come on, help me, I've never been on a date before. And then we take these selfies and we bring them together with an expert. And in the pilot show that we've done so far, where Debbie was the producer, I was the expert, and 4 girls who had shared their private selfies then made them public, and we discussed what each one brought up. And that ranged from social drama and problems with the dealing with social media so much, to things like first dates and working on projects and having kids go behind your back and feeling out of it, all sorts of things. So this is how, so far, the selfie has begun to emerge as a positive tool for kids, parents, teachers, people at large. And that's where I wanted to start the discussion. Debbie, you said I can kick you under the
you kick me under the table.
But I don't think I have to. No. I just have to kind of turn to you.
You let me off the leash.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you had a background in psychology that segued into literature and books and writing about it. What gave you the film bug? What made you decide that you wanted to segue into a genre that you really didn't know about and take it on? So what was the impetus for that?
You know, I finally figured it out just last week. I had one of those aha moments. I always have taught people in my positive psychology teachings to look for what's positive in your background, the moments that really turned you on. Get quiet and sit in a chair and remember sitting with your grandmother when you were a little girl, and, you know, whatever. Enjoy it, milk it. And I realized that when we use our memories, we don't remember everything. Okay, let's say your first crush. You may remember the first kiss. You may remember if you were driven somewhere by his parents, that kind of thing. But you might not remember that your mother bought you pajamas that week, or you were yelled at by your father because you hadn't cleaned your room. You know, exactly. It is a very, it's a drama. When we remember, we've almost created our own arc. Mm-hmm. You know, we have the whole story, and we can start in the middle to the end, or the beginning to the end. Mm-hmm. And I think what has happened is I have been looking my entire adult life for a way to combine something positive I discovered about how we can use our minds with the very nature of good filmmaking. Good filmmaking can't have everything in it. It would be totally boring and wasteful. You know, you've already selected what should we show. And so in the first film, The Truth, the short film, poster up somewhere here, the actress had 16 scenes, and each scene had specific things on her mind. Her aunt giving her a locket, she feeling that she was falling in love with a boy, overhearing her parents say that they might move. And so when you put it all together, it's very, very clean, and you can start to think and discuss and ponder about each issue. What if I had to move? What if my daughter or my granddaughter tells me that they have to move? What might they be feeling and thinking? How could I be helpful? I mean, it just starts a whole range of things.
Do you think that it's a different audience appeal for film because it's a visual media rather than, is your audience the same, do you think, for what you did before as it is now?
I don't think it's exactly the same. I think the person that likes a really meaty novel, like my husband, give him 800 pages of politics and even warfare and all sorts of things, and like he's lost for 2 months on Sundays, you know. That's completely different than somebody who enjoys, it can be the same person, but very often someone who enjoys films is looking for a kind of quick arousal. I know when I go to see a film on Saturday night, I'm really looking for an altered state of being within myself, and I expect it within 60 or 70 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for the 25-hour read.
Right. Plus, a book is more personal. The person has the images in their mind that they create when they read, whereas film is more of a teaching medium. I've found that if somebody's going to learn about history, it's a lot better to watch Braveheart with Mel Gibson than it is to read a book about William Wallace, because the visual, even though sometimes film isn't always accurate because it has to be dramatic and keep you for 2 hours and make money for the studio, it still is a great learning thing for people that would not sit down in this fast day and age and read a book. It's the visual experience.
Right. And I think the visual experience can be extremely helpful today because, of course, people are constantly speeding and doing and not taking a lot of time to read the 800 pages.
Exactly.
Because, as you and I were saying before we started the show, we live in a society where we're exposed to so much negative news and behaviors that we almost become blindsided. We're not really processing them.
It's true.
And my interest is, and always has been, kids, tweens, teens, women specifically, as they age and perhaps if they get divorced and perhaps if they need a job, and women for sure, but in a general way, kids, because kids get overlooked. People think they're educating and they're teaching their kids all the right ways and stuff, but it's very hard to bring up a child. And a lot of times people miss certain basic points of connecting and understanding. And I often say to parents who come to see me in my practice, just give 10 minutes of undivided attention, 8 minutes if you have a lot of kids, to each kid. Sit by the bathtub, sit on the bed, sit in the kitchen in the morning. Try to be there with your child. Your phone should be really hidden. They found that even, and we have our phones because we may get, an emergency phone call, right? But really, I think the research is indicating around kids, hide the phone because the kid very quickly learns that the phone is a diversion for the parent.
Yeah, it's true. And matter of fact, I forgot to turn my phone off, so I'm going to do that right now while we're doing it. I can talk and do that at the same time.
And I'm going to hide mine in my lap.
Yeah, my phone is my nemesis in my life. But as you write a script, I want to know, where does it start? Is it an organic thing? Do you start someplace and then does it go in a different direction according to what you see? I had it off anyway. That's how much my mind is. Does it go in a different direction, or are there certain things? I know the terrorism, because we have a school shooting now every other month.
Yeah.
That's definitely. But there are other things you've touched on, and I think they're going to come out in other films as far as the family dynamic and surprises within the family that are revealed that set everybody in the family in a whole different, type of thing.
Right.
And they can really affect somebody horribly. In the case, I can think of Ted Bundy, who I think his grandmother was really his mother or some crazy thing. Mm-hmm. But so when you do this, are you taking the material from your books and transferring it to film, or is it things that have become more organic to you since you've done this?
Well, I think it's a little of both. The two books together probably have about 50 general themes that coming of age most females experience, and probably 30 of those themes boys do also.
Right.
The first crush, starting puberty, losing a friend, making a best friend. But when I started to do the film, I really wanted to concentrate on one particular theme that's one of my core themes of positive psychology, and it has come up in every film you've directed also, produced also. And that theme is, how does the girl find a way to hold on to the best of herself? How does she not lose herself, either through mild depression or a sense of loss around friends, or having to reorient by moving, or seeing her parents fight, or thinking her mother keeps a secret, which she does? How does she stay sane, basically, in a wholesome way that is her persona? Because, like, one of the favorite expressions I've heard is, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. You know, we don't have to copy other people. We can be ourselves. So when I've done the films, everything that I put into the film is really going to it's a little bit of a chunk that will finally reintegrate in the last things that she's going to put together toward the end of that film.
Right.
And I think you would clearly see that in the films that you've produced with me.
Well, the thing that's interesting is, and if people have watched other podcasts that Barbara's on, is you have to tell people about stuff if they've never seen one. So you have to incorporate them in everything that you've done. The girl that is the lead in this is the girl. She doesn't have a name. And I think you did that specifically so that another young girl could watch this and put herself in. And the fact of what you just talked about, which was very interesting, because teenage suicide is up, I don't know, you would know as a psychologist, percentage-wise. And with all the Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter and whatever the heck else is out there, these kids are texting each other across a table rather than interacting, and they're losing their communicative skills. I mean, a girl can be broken up with her boyfriend in a text, which is awful.
Or just being ghosted. She never even hears from him again.
Exactly. It's like the old days where the soldier had to go and stick a bayonet in somebody, and now they just push a button and the bomb goes off. I mean, it's... So, are you ever going to give the girl a name in the future? Where is she going? Where is her path?
Where is the girl going? Well, I wasn't planning... That's a good question. You threw that one at me.
Sorry.
I'm not sure. I wasn't planning to give her a name. I think it's more important that she establish some sort of sense of being on the verge of adulthood and knowing that she's going to make it. And that's why I'm hoping with Megan Brown, who has been the girl for the last few years, that will do something very interesting this coming year. It's going to be her senior year of high school and the girl's senior year of high school.
Right.
And somehow have a plot that is obviously a good arc and very compelling, but the resolution of her sense that she will make it into young adulthood, and maybe some of the indicators of what's going to help her and what she's going to reach out for, because I see all these films as being helpful to educate whoever's watching them. Oh, yeah, I should make sure that Aunt Tilly, who lives near where my daughter's going to college, really, gives her a call once in a while. I mean, that's really a very small thing, but oftentimes parents don't really spend a lot of brainstorming time that isn't really staying overly attached, but ways where the girl or the boy will have security little places to reach out to. So
I'm going to have to ask you some questions that are to draw you out a little bit, and you can pass on them.
Okay.
What was the hardest thing you found about being in the film business? The hardest thing that you felt you had to either overcome or accomplish? Was there any mountain you had to climb up?
Well, actually, my first experiences were Cassidy Terracino was the star, and then Megan Brown since. The first 3 years were like, and I so the the most ecstatic times I've ever had practically as an adult, seeing the filming come to life and working on the set and so on. Probably the hardest thing for me was actually just recently, and it may seem small to other people, but being sick the major day of the filming was for me it was a terrible loss because I certainly didn't get any ecstasy that day. I didn't feel well, but also a loss in that I knew I wasn't picking up signals and absorbing. And a lot of this work is my training. I'm getting an internship, as I go along.
Right.
And I really couldn't be at that level that day. And it's, the show goes on. Everybody was hired. All the players were there. You were there working hard. It just had to go on, and that's the way it is.
Right. It's such an organic process,
Yeah.
and so many people are connected. People don't realize that, even, that they see a film. Even, certain things I do with the festival, and I'll plug that later on a little bit. People will say that are close to me, aren't you done that? Didn't you, that, what do you have to do? And they just don't understand it because until you work in the medium or until you do it, you don't realize how many people are involved. And especially on a level that you don't have Warner Brothers behind you.
No.
You have to get locations. It's very difficult to have everything come together and worry about things showing up. Well, that's the producer's job. But it is something that if you're not up to snuff physically or mentally that day, in other words, you have to get a good night's sleep and not have a lot of drinks the night before.
Yeah, so it's life. It's like anything else, passing my dissertation, all sorts of other leaps, getting the license to practice in New Jersey. It's not all,
Right.
wonderful times, but I think, okay, ask me the next question.
Well, I want to, like, where do you see the vision? Where do you see yourself in 5 years with the girl and the Selfie Project?
Well, I would like very much to see these books, or if they're reprinted, the comparable books, perhaps with another book here and another book there, maybe one when she's even younger and then one when she's older. I'd like to see them in all the libraries in this country, both the schools and the public library. That's very important. I think if we could achieve that, then finding a way to have the films and the books maybe in a package, where parents can sit with the kids and watch the films that go with each age. Maybe they're not going to read the book, but they'll get a sense of what's happening and discussions can take place. The same with a kid with her guidance counselor or with a therapist. The films can bring to life certain scenes and make you think about them in a way that you might just skim by those pages and then they become very relevant because you've seen them as a film. And I would love to see it become a film. I see this summer that there are 2 different films out basically hitting the tween age group. One of them is Smart Girls, I think the title. It looks like a very interesting movie. The other one is really a series, and it's getting a lot of mixed reviews because it's touching upon very, very heavy subjects, more like 13 weeks.
Oh, yeah, the one about the suicide and the girl.
And here's where
the Netflix series.
Things have to be so carefully balanced. I feel as a psychologist, it's not my job in any way to arouse the dark side of people. Okay, I know sometimes it can be very valuable. Films that win Academy Awards have gone there for the purposes of drama.
Right.
That's not my job. My job is to only arouse the emotional side, like when you see a dog and a cat on an advertisement on TV, you almost want to turn it off because the dog looks so pathetic. But it's there because they want you to adopt pets.
Correct.
You know, they want you to just turn around and do a good deed. So I think we've let in exactly the right moment to show this 90-second little film that was produced for me, which gives a sense of pressures that the kids are dealing with every day, and they shouldn't have to be. But in order to change it, change has to happen. So I'd like to show that 90-second first film right now.
Helping Hand?
Pardon me?
Which one is it called?
It has a picture of a child or two children looking at a book.
Helping Kids?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
That was really well produced. I enjoyed that. That was really compelling and great. I want to ask you a question. Do you ever see a series about a young boys?
I do, but I see myself in that case as maybe being either a co-writer with somebody or a consultant. I really believe that it does make a difference that I'm female, that I kept a diary for 3 years every day when I was young, even younger than the girl in these two books, and then kept it sporadically in high school when I was miserable or happy, you know, and that I understand a lot of the ways that girls feel put down and second classed. That is slightly different culturally than the tools we give boys, and then the miserable ways they can feel if they feel bullied or one-upped and when they shouldn't have been.
Understand.
You know.
Now, Megan and the girl are both going to be going to college. Are you going to continue this with that vein in the future as far as the age bracket, or are you going to, according to the social issues and what's going on, start with another younger girl, a series about those compelling issues?
I don't think that can be answered yet. I would like to see the Selfie project take off. And again, even if I am only one of several players, I don't want that to die. And that's an opportunity where, for example, and this would cost money. I mean, this is beyond what I can just do by myself. There were opportunities for kids to do both drama selfies, perhaps some that they write and do themselves, some which are given to them by other people, and also where they are sharing problems and thoughts via selfies. And it's all coordinated, whether it's a series, you know, on one of the channels that now exists, like you're working on with your first.
Right. I think that it seems the way to go nowadays is YouTube or web series.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can see it on YouTube. where there's multi-parts and kids can even float between different parts. They can have a problem and join a discussion, and then another time they might be taking their smartphone and doing a 3-minute film, and another time they might be acting with a bunch of kids in some sort of drama situation. All of this is healthy, and we're, and getting a parent to sit down and even say to the parent, in 2 minutes, you're going to see why I was so angry last Sunday night, and I can't just bring it to you. You're going to just doesn't work. But
Right.
you can hear me now.
I think another good forum would be to work with the local public high schools and maybe show this and then post it that if you have feelings for this, could you going to come to see the guidance counselor or, whatever. Which is really taking it out of the office on an individual level that you do as a psychologist,
Right.
and putting it on a bigger
Right.
scale. And if it worked, you could just spread it out. Because I think that, I don't know, I think with this lack of communication and all this technology, it's less that the kids are going to come out. It's got to be something to bring them out in a safe zone and make them feel I can, talk to this person, and it's not the regular guidance counselor that I see in the hall all the time at the high school. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
All of that gets old a little bit,
Exactly.
too. We get tired of approaching the same people and whatever. Talking of schools, I did get highly involved in something that's really on my mind. And we're going to watch at least the trailer and maybe the 3-minute film that Rich Hall did for me. This came out of the blue, the film, because it's going to be part of the longer film that Frank Nuzzi has just started to work on this week.
Okay.
Finally. That's the one where I got sick for the day. He's working on it. But out of the blue, the scenes in the bathroom of the school lockdown were so powerful that Rich Hall, who had actually filmed them with a smartphone, an iPhone 8X or something, he told me exactly what phone. And it turned out that his filming was dramatic and useful. And I have become very committed to talking and encouraging teachers and principals and parents to get involved in trying to come up with solutions. Our kids should not be exposed to the anxiety of whether there'll be an active shooter in school. That is just not what we want in our democracy.
I noticed people too, and I had a thing in a movie theater this past week, that people in general too, are afraid in a movie theater. They're scared ever since it happened where that kid came in Batman and shot everybody, that in public places, even the sports event that happened where there was a shooter, it's almost this anxiety about being in a public place that somebody's going to come in.
Now a lot of churches and synagogues, mosques, you have to show an ID to,
It's horrible.
It's a very, very, it's not the way we should be living. And I'm not taking a political stand on what should happen to different instruments that can harm us. But the framework should not be so much to totally get rid of perhaps something that is just never going to be 100% rid of, like guns.
Right.
But to have the laws and the policies that shape the way they're handled. For example, just something as simple as in, was it New Zealand, where there was a mass killing, and the Prime Minister, if that's what her title is, refused to let the public know his name because a lot of people want fame.
Right.
It's part of the illness that they may be having. So, even making that type of adjustment that no one will ever know who did this.
Right.
You can do it, and, you'll still be put away if that's the law, but you won't be famous.
Which is the way it should be. Right?
Yeah. So that led to First, we'll show you the little trailer. Let's just watch the little trailer first. And Rich Hall really did a great job on both of these. So could we see the 30-second trailer? Or you think it's even less than 30 seconds?
We'll see.
This is Principal Howard. This is an emergency. Initiate lockdown procedures.
Oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
So that's the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the interesting thing about it too is when I produced this, it's so difficult to get a straight answer. I had gone to a couple of the high schools, and I wanted to know, what do you do? Tell me what happens so I can be a little bit authentic when I tell Barbara and she's writing this piece. And I couldn't get a straight answer from anybody because they have things in place that only the kids know. And they don't even trust a person, that comes in with normal credentials and I've lived in this area all my life and I know everybody, and, they don't trust anybody. So actually we were kind of winging it, but we did have a little bit of help from somebody who did say, and also the kids themselves, who didn't tell us what they actually said, but what the demeanor was, and that the principal would come on, and what they're told to do. And it's just like when we were children, there was the fire drill, and the thing went off, nobody thought it was a fire, and you just go out on the street and you'd stand there for 20 minutes and everybody was
freezing,
laughing and happy because you weren't in class, which was wonderful, and then you'd go back in. But now it's, you're not smelling smoke, you're hearing gunshots, and you don't know where to run. You don't know whether to hide under a desk. And it's just as difficult for the teachers because they're there like the captain of the cruise ship that doesn't go down with the ship. The teacher should be the person between the gunman and the child to protect it. But it's just, the way these perpetrators think, it's almost impossible to protect people these days. So that was really interesting producing this because everybody was on eggshells talking about it and, creating a scene that was rather accurate.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we do have time. We can play it's less than 3 minutes, the little film.
Sure.
And so this film some of it will be incorporated in the longer film that we're working on now, which also has all the other drama of this girl being 16 and some family secrets coming out.
So, where are you getting your hair cut and colored these days?
Salon L, downtown.
How much do they charge?
I don't know. My mom paid.
Okay, Miss Privilege.
Wow, this color looks so good
How was
on
that,
me. Chemistry test for you?
It was okay. Stoichiometry's still hard.
Yeah, it's the worst. Did you hear that? Was that gunshots?
I don't know.
This is Principal Howard. This is an emergency. Initiate lockdown procedures. I repeat, this is Principal Howard. This is an emergency. Initiate lockdown procedure. This is not a test.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay. Oh my god, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Quiet, quiet. You have to listen.
We're gonna die. We're gonna die. No, we're gonna die.
Get in there.
Oh my god, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. Oh my god. Oh my god. How is this happening?
It'll be okay as long as we keep quiet.
No, I can't.
It's okay.
Taft is all clear. I repeat, Taft is all clear. This is Secretary Higgins. Taft is all clear. I repeat, Taft is all clear.
Thank God.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
We're still alive.
Yeah.
That was insane.
I hope Brian's okay. Oh my god.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's a continuing bit because there was conflict between the girls as far as popularity, and it shows what the great equalizer is, that when it's something horrendously horrible that happens, sometimes the person that everybody thought was the nerd or the kid that they didn't want to hang with is the one who's the strong one. And she sees her in a whole different light. That was Rachel, that was down on the floor, that actress, and she's been known as the mean girl. But she broke the barrier with the school shooting. And of course, the film continues on. That was just a clip from it. So, where do you see the stronger thing for you? I believe I'm getting the gist that it's going to be the Selfie Project because you want it to be a constant venue for girls to voice their opinion. Correct?
Well, if we can get the Selfie Project going, it would include boys also, I imagine. Mm-hmm. Yes, I could see that being, a 10-year investment of time and creative energy. But I have fallen in love with filmmaking, and I don't know if I can completely pull back from it now. I really don't. Whether it would, take various aspects of even reworking some of I have so much footage we never even used over the last 4 years.
Right.
But I'd be curious. I want to ask you one question before we run out of time, and then is, you have produced and been involved with tons of films, and you've been critiquing them for over 35 years. How do you feel, and what was your reaction to being so much a part of this selfie filmmaking and knowing it's, really a new concept and something that came, out of my dreams, sort of thing?
It's different for me because I've done narrative films and I've also done documentaries. And this is like the middle road. It's kind of a docudrama, which is what you call it. It was interesting because, of course, when you're starting filmmaking, although, you're comfortable, we're comfortable, you don't want to throw a lot of money into something. So producing is something that what you try to do is get the most bang for the buck for the person that you're working for. We were lucky because we were very lucky with locations. The girls we got were very lovely to work with, and they did not take any kind of, insult when we criticized their acting and we told them to do it again and again. And they actually made friends. They're all friends now, which is kind of a cool thing. So, I've enjoyed the ride as far as a producer.
But I'm going to be a little more specific. There's one thing I'm really curious about. If you had, say, you had written these books and then you wanted to turn them into a film.
Right.
I'm trying to get your sense, like, would you have preferred if the girls had not done their own, the main character had not done her own selfies, but a crew had been with her, or do you see the advantage of the selfie concept as one form of filming?
I see an advantage in it because it's unique. It hasn't really happened. I mean, kids do that in film occasionally, in a narrative studio film or whatever, but it's written and produced by the writer, and it's scripted, and it's not real. It's these kids are kind of given a guideline, and then they use their own thoughts and their imagination and their own life experiences to incorporate in this. So it is kind of a different thing, and obviously it's doing well because you're getting into film festivals and you're winning awards. So I guess people really see the need in it, and for me, it's been a pleasant experience. We have a great crew, we have good people, and I think that I think it's more genuine. You feel it's more real. And that's an important thing, because if you're trying to get people to feel and come forward and feel connected, if something is too pat, they don't feel that.
It is very organic, and I think when Megan and Cassidy, and now these two, the girls we saw here too, Elena and Rachel, they chose their own costumes. They were given scripts, but the liberty of loosening them up with their own lingo. You don't want to sound like Grandma Holstein, you want to get the and they did, and they picked a lot of their own, their makeup, everything, and of course for Megan, she really chose many of the settings. So it was quite an organic experience, and I think that does come through, just the way you feel when you're with kids and they're very real that day, and they're not standing on ceremony with you.
Right. And of course, making a series of films, they feel comfortable enough with us, because the first time everybody's a little trepidatious. They don't talk to each other. They don't know how they're going to act. Even though a couple of them have acted before, but they came together, and the second film, the third series, they're now doing their thing, and that's what we really want. So
Exactly. So time is drawing to a close.
Can I just plug my stuff?
Yes, please.
All
go
right.
right ahead now.
I'm one of the directors of the Jersey Shore Film Festival. We run this Sunday coming up. Our gala is at the Axelrod Theater in Deal till the next Sunday when the awards are. We have a Woodstock night during the middle of the week on the rooftop of the Asbury. We have 100 films we're showing, 7 venues. We're in Asbury Park, Deal. Please check the website out, JerseyShoreFilmFestival.com. And also I'm starting a web series next month called Real Recipes, REEL, which anybody older than 50 remembers Dinner and a Movie on USA. Well, we're not like that. I'm doing a 15-minute film review that's kind of off the wall, and make a recipe that ties into what I'm talking about that day. 5 ingredients, easy, impressive, and you can cook it in 15 minutes. So that's going to be a web series, so everybody look for that. We're filming next month. It'll probably be coming on YouTube in August.
And my film, Conflict and a Bit of Magic, a coming-of-age selfie film, which goes with a girl being 15, will be shown twice at the Jersey Shore Festival.
Correct.
8 o'clock on Monday night at
the Film Salon, which is the Axelrod Theater on Phillips Avenue in Deal.
And the other time is 8 o'clock next Saturday night at the
Berkeley Hotel. And I will be doing the Q&A for Barbara.
Yes.
So come on out, and then afterwards we'll all go out for a drink on the boardwalk.
Sounds good. Sounds great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's podcast and got a sense of the selfie world and its potential, and also how we can use film and filmmaking and the selfie aspects of it to help kids come of age, and also help correct an environment so they will be not only strong and happy, but living in a safe world with less anxiety and turmoil, which should be what we give them as the future generation, and they deserve it. So good night for now. See you soon.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.